Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo back again. This is going to be the second draft of the Arena Open with Modern Horizons 3 booster draft. Went 3-1 in the first draft, meaning that this is effectively a single elimination draft for me. Had a nice basic blue-white deck in the first draft, which served me well. If you watch that video, I did say that I haven't drafted this format a ton, so I need the nice easy drafts where I'm not relying on complicated splashing. All right, what do we got? Kozilek's End. I believe this to be a pretty good card. Although, for a colorless deck, it's not nearly as good as Writhing Chrysalis. I mean, this is not, I guess this could go in decks that Writhing Chrysalis might not, but realistically, they kind of go in the same deck. If I wasn't going to pick Writhing Chrysalis, what else would be on the table? I'd say the next best common is probably Nightshade Dryad. I do like the Riddle Keeper, even though it let me down in my first draft when I didn't realize you needed Wingding mana to emerge it. I think this is a pretty simple Writhing Chrysalis. Hopefully I wheel a green card out of this package. There are 4 decent green cards in it. I'm not going to pick either of these rares. Skewering Precursor is pretty good, but I think Malevolent Rumble is the pretty clear pick. Generally with the like the more Eldrazi ramp decks, premium cards are obviously important, like the Chrysalis, but the second most important thing is just getting good 2-drops that can ramp you. And Malevolent Rumble is a card that does that. I think somebody picked a common out of that pack, probably. This card doesn't do anything, right? I guess that's not actually the worst, but certainly not going to pick it here. So I've got my choice between, I guess, Trickster Elk, which is playable, and Snapping Void Craw. Which could be good, but requires me to be a 3-color deck. I think the upside on this is higher than the Trickster's Elk. A lot of lands to choose from here. There's also Wormcoil Larva, which is a good card. I think it's pretty far away from what I've got going on so far. I think maybe if I was a Jund deck, I would play it. I mean, I would play it if I was a Jund deck, but I don't know that I want a double black card. I can just take this land. Which is what I think I'm going to do. Card's really slow. Does seem like black is open. But I don't know that I'm interested in being black. Given the way things have started. I'm thinking I'm just going to take Unfathomable Truths, which is a little disappointing at this point. Sign to Memory is obviously a good sideboard card. There's lands. I think I'm just going to take the Eldrazi Ravager. Over the Precursor. Here I can take Priest of Titania, which is a 2-mana ramp card. It's one of the worst ones, but it still is a 2-mana ramp card. Doesn't really feel like I'm necessarily in an open deck. Like, I think that if you're going to draft this deck, you're just going to be fighting people for it, and I think that's what's going on. Another Priest of Titania. I guess they kind of get better in multiples. 2 lands that are not... neither of these is the perfect land. They're both just 2. I guess I'm going to take the second Priest. This was the pack I was hoping to wheel a green card, and I did wheel Colossal Dreadmask, which is, I believe, the worst of the green cards. Card that doesn't do anything. And this land, it really doesn't help me. It's only one of my colors. I guess I can take Tune the Narrative if I get some Energon-themed stuff. I think Tune the Narrative, like, I'm not going to play Energon stuff for just a basic card like the Cyclops Superconductor, but if I pick up a couple Galvanic Discharges, maybe. I'll take Siege Smash. Sideboard option at worst. It's like definition of a filler card. Or I guess definition of replacement level card. Not going to pick Orm's Chant. I know that much. I've tried this thing before, and it's not very good. There are some good cards in this pack, though. Amped Raptor, although not really for the deck I'm drafting. I think Territorial Color's pretty good. I have no idea what its win rate is. There's also Fanged Flames, which would be good. I think I'm just going to go with the color, though. Are any of my other things elves? No, I've got an Eldrazi Turtle and an Eldrazi Drone. There probably are no elf Eldrazi's, would be my guess. This does count your opponent's elves, which is kind of weird. Necrobloom. This would require 2 colors I'm not playing. Realm Cartographer isn't the worst. There's also Annoyed Altasaur, which would be fine. I think I'm just taking another Malevolent Rumble, though. There's also Horrific Assault, which would be my first removal card. I think I'm going to take the Rumble, but this is probably the last pick I'm going to make where I'm prioritizing 2-mana ramp. That said, there's a great one here. Solar Transformer. I think I might just want Galvanic Discharge, though. It's such a good card. Even if I have no other Energons, it's nice, but I could play Tune the Narrative if I get a little bit more Energon stuff. I could get a Solar Transformer later. It looks like I'm green-blue splashing red, and I'm going to need to put a little bit more work into getting my mana to be good. I don't think I'm going to get to Royal Cartographer. Being good. I think I should just take Consign to Memory as a sideboard card for mirror-type matches. think I just want the Glaring Fleshraker. I've been pretty impressed by this card. It's also just impressive in that, like, usually you make a ton of triggers whenever anything happens, which is just fun. I could take a Riddle Keeper here. It's really unfortunate that these Priest of Titanias aren't Nightshade Dryads, just because it would solve my mana issues. Does this card do anything? Turns a creature spell that they cast into a 2/2 bird. That seems not good enough. And I'm sure there are times when that would be fine to cast, but a lot of the times it's not going to be fine. So right now I'm really hurting in the ability to produce red mana category. I'll strike it minimum. It's going to be a good sideboard card. Man. I don't think there was a reason for me to go Energon based on what I saw pack 1, but I think I would be getting a pretty good Energon deck had I done that. So I do have some stuff down here that I could play if I needed to. And I'm probably going to need to play 1 or 2 of these cards because I'm hopefully going to use 1 or 2 of my picks in the next pack on getting some color fixing. I was hoping to see something better than this. Guess I'm taking another Malevolent Rumble over a Perilous Landscape and a Warped Tusker. I've been having a lot of fun in the Vintage Cube drafting around Hogak. The addition of Malevolent Rumble actually, I think, makes it so that you can get pretty good Hogak decks sometimes. Whereas before it was like impossible dream. Man, this pack is not even close to being good. Things are looking pretty grim. I guess I'm taking another Foul Strike. I don't think I want any of those red cards. No mana fixing here, but there is a Drownyard Lurker, which I need a couple more expensive cards, I think. There's also Serum Visionary, which is nice, at least with the Riddle Keeper, but I think I'm going to go with the Lurker. I don't think I need to prioritize picking another ramp card. That said, I guess I'm taking the third Priest of Titania. They're pretty good if you get them in multiples. It's going to lead to some explosive starts. There's a Perilous Landscape in the pack I opened, so maybe I can wheel on. My mana is a little bit better than it looks, just because the 3 Malevolent Rumbles are going to sometimes find me red mana. And also, I don't even have that much blue in my deck. My deck is just green and colorless for the most part. I think I want Nyxborn Hydra. I've been impressed by this card. The other option would be, I think, Fanged Flames, but I don't really want another red card. I can help it. We have a Warped Tusker. I think I already have a Brain Surge. I should probably play Brain Surge just with Malevolent Rumble. It's a bit of a combo. It's kind of an expensive way to do like a Brainstorm fetch. Could play the Harvester. I think I just want more expensive cards to cast. Alright, this is the Perilous Landscape I was hoping was going to come back. This pack was horrible for me the first time, and it has not improved. I do have 3 elves, but I don't think that's enough for this thing. So just rare draft. Rare draft. So my deck is lacking some things. I didn't get much interaction. I have Bridgeworks Battle, Discharge, the Riddle Keeper. I think I want to play 16 lands plus the battle and then have all of this stuff. So I'm going to trim 1 land for sure. This gets blue. These both get blue. I think it should be an island. This gives me 10 green effectively, counting Bridgeworks Battle and the green from this, which I want to have a lot of green, so that's good. I don't think I want to skimp on green. Glaring Fleshraker's a little hard to cast, but I'll probably be sacking a Eldrazi to bring it out most of the time. But I'll have them from Rumble, Chrysalis, cycling these guys. All right. So it's time to add a few cards. Options. I think the first copy of Foul Strike seems fine. Kind of think I should just play this. I don't know if this might be the kind of card you just normally play in this format. I don't really know, but I like high upside cards, which this one it works. If you're spending one mana to counter a 4 or 5 mana card, that's a pretty big deal. And countering triggered abilities, I'm sure there will be opportunities to do that in just about every game. And I guess for 2 mana, you can counter like both halves of a Chrysalis, which is kind of cool. And I could just play this. The only problem with that is I don't really have that much blue mana, so I think I should probably play this instead. I don't think this deck is great, and I think the games are going to be really, really lopsided, where if I have a good start with my cheap ramp, I think I could easily run away with games, but if I fall behind, I don't think this deck is going to really be able to come back. I have all my colors. I had them all, no longer. Guess I'm going to bottom consign. That's not an elf. Well on my way to decking myself. I'm going to put a stop to some of my Eldrazi spawn tokens. No. Pitched a pretty decent spell, so the hand has to be somewhat decent. So I need 2 of the spawn tokens on my turn to be able to play the Riddle Keeper. So I think I can comfortably, if they attack with the Sentry, block with the Chrysalis and the Spawn, and then sack the Spawn and sack another Spawn, assuming that they connive away another spell. It seems better than just blocking the Repurposer and giving them another Spawn. I don't think I like the idea of not blocking at all. Really discarding some pretty good cards. I'm kind of concerned about what's in their hand. I guess I did play in a way that I'm going to have to sack more spawns than I wanted to. Or I could just use my Foul Strike. I guess that's... Holy cow. So attack me. This is 13. If I can get 2 creatures in the yard, I would die, but that's probably not going to happen. I think I should just try to... 20 ball. Another 2 turns. I didn't really see good targets for any of my marginal cards, I think. Kind of considering this thing. Just a potential blocker. I think it's just the land. It's between the color and the land, I think. I'm just going to go with the land. I would have 2 expensive cards I can cast. Several 2 expensive cards to cast, and then I'll have Unfathomable Truths at some point, probably. It's a tricky elk. Glad I took the land. Now I can play the Ravager next turn, potentially. I don't think I want to offer them the chance to double block. I could have attacked first, and they probably wouldn't block there, but this is the problem with doing that. Like, I'm only dealing 2 damage, because I'm not going to want to sack things there. Let's see if this works first. Yeah, I'll just pay all 3. So he could have responded with the +1/+1 card, right? I think that's how that works. Annihilation. hope this isn't the worst board state I've ever seen. Certainly can afford to take a few hits. I don't actually have all that much left in my deck I can draw into that's going to do much. Really need this Writhing Chrysalis to bring me to victory. I'm going to be sacking these 2 drones to get back the Ravager. And I did give up 2 damage, but I'm going to be able to block here. I think the Fleshraker in my graveyard. I think the Fleshraker is in my graveyard. Okay, I can't cast that. That's a problem. As long as I keep playing this thing very early on in the game, I like my deck. Going to be a pretty fast beatdown they've got going on here. If the Chrysalis doesn't live, I'm almost definitely going to lose. Oh, they missed damage. Because they can proliferate the exalted counters. That's really not good for me. Hope I draw something good. Any Eldrazi spell would be good. So I get another drone. That's not an example of something that's good. I'm going to be chumping with the Trickster's Elk. Because keeping the Priest of Titania means that I could cast a 7-drop if I drew it. And I do think it's worth chumping here, because I don't want to just put myself to the point where if they just draw a flyer and play it, it's lethal, or I have to leave the Chrysalis back. Because I don't think I can win this game by trying to stabilize. It's almost to the point where it's worth it for them to block with a lot of stuff. Yeah, they're getting priority. That's bad for me. Could win if my top card's Twisted Riddlemaker. Wouldn't win immediately, but I would be in decent shape. Even the Eldrazi Annihilator would be good. Really, any of the expensive cards would be pretty good. Just something that will trigger the Fleshraker. Certainly not a land. Oh no. Goodbye, Fleshraker. I'm making a lot of my good draws a lot worse. Need to do one turn sooner. They're going to draw cards with my snapping Void Craw. It's like adding insult to injury. They stole it from me and now they're going to use it. Or, okay, they're not going to use it. They're going to play Felia. Not sure that was better than just drawing 2 cards. Attacking with it in some ways just makes them deal less damage. Still in incredibly bad shape. Oh, that wasn't good for me. I think I can no longer win because they're going to exile the token here. Yeah. I think I kind of like Consign against their deck. It counters that abstruse, whatever, this card has a crazy name. Abstruse Appropriation, but it also it can stop Stasis Prison. Can stop, like, sometimes Felia stopping the trigger is a really big deal. Let me make sure I understand what this card does. Counter target triggered ability. That's what I want to do. And then in their color combination, you would expect Foul Strike to be pretty good, even though it wouldn't have done anything that game. I don't have access to green mana, but I can play the Fleshraker on 3. That's not how that works. It was not the greatest play in the world, but I thought it was worth making. Probably need a forest next turn. Again. Really need a land next turn. Holy cow. I don't think I'm dead this turn, but I think that I no longer even have enough time to cast Unfathomable Truths. because they're going to hit me for so much damage this turn. It's what, 6 Exalted triggers? They're hitting me for 8. Well, I got to deal a tiny bit of damage. And then I died. Won some gems. Hope you enjoyed the video. Those games were kind of like my experience with this format, which is why I didn't really like it all that much. The decks are just really high power leveled, but not very consistent, which leads to a lot of games that are blowouts. Like a bunch of the games I won were blowouts. The games I lost were blowouts. They just weren't. I think the cards are just too high power leveled for normal draft. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.